Welcome back. What is Keiichi going to do? But before all of that, there was one thing I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why. There was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I need to get that clock out quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it! The tape was sticking to it fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. There's that phrase again. It'd be fine if. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I never thought that a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the managers from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death. ? But Rena and Mion did both call him manager. They said manager. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I didn't know. But even if I didn't know, it could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of this string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah, there's something even more important I needed to write. Tomitake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right, that drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape. So it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. Firmly. Ding dong! The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write any more. But even still, there was one last thing that I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write out everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away, you, who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Dena, Mion. Keiichi's parents are gonna come home to the most surprising sight. I really had thought all of us were friends. But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying, in competitions, in personal records, and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. I like these translations because I can see the Japanese word behind them. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them, but they wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life, even if they were trying to kill me, everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. So it's only been a month. Or could it be those happy days were all a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today, to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Dena and Mion, they really were my friends. Those happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try to kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Dena and Mion, they were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Wait, they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends, regardless of whether or not they were forced. There's no way such a thing like being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then, did the real Dena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Dena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake, only the reality that was before me. Dena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, I couldn't change reality. Dena and Mion were both dead. It felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. Dena and Mion. I killed them. Ding dong! The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly! I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever or whatever had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass. What? I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Dena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Dena and Mion. Those people that I just killed. For their sake, I will survive. Ding dong! I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again, as if to urge me on. I can see the Japanese behind all of these things. I've been translating things for so long I can see it. Behind this single, solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly so as not to make a sound. There he is! The back door! A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi! Run! One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence. Those things you use when you have time to spare. Spill out of me. He's so poetic. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. Such a poet. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever. So of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran. Just recklessly rushing in the direction I was already heading. This is me playing Dead by Daylight. Just run! Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Same. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. The Dead by Daylight experience. That presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like my shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. Indeed. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran. Do the loop. At full speed. Loop the killer. Quack, 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 quack. That was the chirping of the Higurashi, telling me it was evening. That's one way to write it down. Trying to tell me something, and then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the further I ran, the further away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Me? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This sounds familiar. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a lot of sorries. All right. I felt that only the Higurashi knew. Beep, 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 beep. When they cry. Ooh, chased by shadows. Wee, wee, wee. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? You know why. I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about 1/10 of the municipality's revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of this municipality. So I really wished they'd show us a little more respect. Why would you discard the 5 manzu there? It's just decreasing your options. One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with the mahjong magazine called Next Turn. You're still in Tenpai if you cut the 5 manzu. I also speak nonsense. If you're betting on a haite, then shouldn't you be going into it with a mangan? Exactly. Totally, bro. Kuma-chan, look at the pond. They all discarded a 5 manzu. It's a safe tile. You'd hate it if, at endgame, someone was sitting on a tenpai on the last turn, wouldn't you? The kid let out another groan, put out his cigarette, then took out another one. What? Why? I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options? By the way, you can't call Ron with your winning tile in that haite. What? Why is that? Just then, I heard a voice coming from down the hall. Are you here, Oishi-san? You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? Welp, see you soon. They actually made Oishi-san say welp. Welp. Bruh. Why can't you call Don on it? Hold on for a second. Oishi-san. Mahjong talk is very serious. The man sitting on the seat Oishi-san was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver. Outside line. From a payphone. It's here. Oh, why thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oishi. Who is it? Ah, Oishi-san. Hello. If it isn't Maebara-san. Why, good evening. From the tone Maebara-kun's voice... I think they missed a word there. From the tone of Maebara-kun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time Maebara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone. Please calm down. Did something happen? His voice was erratic over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone. What happened? Calm down, Maebara-san. I can have the local officers head to your location. I'll be there soon too. I think that's impossible. His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? Maebara-san, you're calling from a payphone right now, right? Where is that payphone? There were no other sounds beside Maebara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Hinamizawa, phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on the internal lines. Calm down, Maebara-san. What is your current situation? It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking to do so, but this was not a usual case. Maebara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Maebara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Maebara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes. That's too long. How many officers are in there? 2. Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Maebara-kun. 5 minutes was too long. Did you call the officer stationed in Hinamizawa? He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it'll be impossible to contact them. God damn! Kuma-chan, bring the car around. Understood. Hello. Oishi-san. Cough, cough. Hello. It's all right. I can hear you loud and clear. There was something wrong with Maebara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured? Maebara-san, the police are on their way. They'll be there in a couple of minutes, so hold on somehow. Somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Maebara-san, somehow hold on. I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head. Maebara-san, who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought... At first the culprit was human. Hack. I couldn't tell if that was a cough or vomiting. Are you all right, Maebara-san? I thought that the culprit was a person and not Oyashiro-sama's curse. Up until right now. But I guess, in the end, hack. It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting. But I guess Oyashiro-sama does exist. No, he's here. Maebara-san, please, just please calm down. I had been thinking it was strange for a while now. It's been following me this whole time. I run and run, but it just sticks to me like my shadow. But slowly, so slowly, it's digging itself into my back. Maebara-san, are they? Right now, perhaps, right behind you. Behind me. Right behind me. Please, Maebara-san. I can tell you're scared, but please, who is it that's right behind you? I can't just look behind me. If I do, I understand that you're scared, but please tell me. You just need to turn around a bit. Who is it? Who is behind you, Mayabara-san? Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Mayabara-san, it couldn't be that you're clawing out your own throat? There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Mayabara-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over on the other end in a repeating, abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Mayabara-san? Hello? I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment, I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, was he talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there? Hello, Mayabara-san. Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep. Suddenly, the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind. Oishi-san, the car is good to go. Oishi-san? It was, I'm sorry. Oishi-san? That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling. There was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. Quee, 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 quee. I should have been able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? Quee, 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 quee. Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. I mean, they're cicada bros. They don't have much to say. That's how I felt. July 1983. I don't even exist yet. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. Hey, I was reading that. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates. I'm gonna have to read this fast. Rena Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. Just sounds so violent. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. Oh boy, his parents did not come home to a nice view. The inside of that room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. Why does it go so fast? At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had evidence of being impacted by a strong blunt force. It is believed to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There is the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It is hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart and its contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had, for some reason, taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. He likes to live in filth. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. Though the garage door was functional, it had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer, Hinamizawa Local PD, found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of the discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. Oh. The results of the autopsy indicate the immediate cause of death was to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails and the resulting bleeding caused his death. With the similarity to the death of Tomitake-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of the local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomitake-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, the case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it is possible that this was premeditated. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior, as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but was instead planned several days in advance. Let me breathe. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets from a B5 college ruled notebook that had each been torn in half, and as if trying to conceal it, was stuck hidden behind a clock on the wall. The contents are as written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility that the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case has been labelled as unresolved. Oh. However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but was originally a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Ooh. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from traces of large quantities of cellophane tape being stuck to the back of the clock, speculation that something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was a detective rumoured to have a connection with the incident. Kuraudo Oishi. He underwent voluntary questioning but denies involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Keiichi Mayabara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all on the first sheet. Everything below this has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. Everything above this has been ripped out. I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though the only difference may be the presence or lack of a body. You, who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Keiichi Mayabara. Finally, I can click. Dun dun dun! Higurashi when they cry. Oh my gosh. That is a long novel. A new scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session has become available. To play it, select Extra on the title menu. Interesting. Please uncover the truth. Alright, well, that's perfectly timed. That is the end of not only this week's episode, but the end of Onikakushi-hen. Except I'm going to check out whatever that thing was that they just told me unlocked in the extra section. all-cast review session. We'll check that out next week. That was a really long story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Onikakushi-hen. As a story, as I said when I started this, it's one of my favorite Japanese horror stories, like, of all time. I love Onikakushi-hen. I first saw either the movie or the anime. I don't even remember. It was probably the movie. But either way, the visual novel is so long that I probably wouldn't recommend this as someone's first experience with Onikakushi. I think probably the anime is the best way to view it. You get more out of it. There's a lot missing, like, visually, I guess, and like the audio and things, like when they scream out lies and all of that sort of stuff. The anime can do that a lot better than just plain text can. But the plain text can obviously include a lot more information than you can see in the anime. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought. And I'll see you again next week for that all-cast review session. See ya!